Welcome back, folks. Another Beaver 42 episode, talking about teams 9 through 12. And welcome, Beav. How are you, mate?
Good, buddy. Good to see you again. Looking forward to the NRL season, eh?
Yeah, you betcha. You betcha. Not far away now, about 8 weeks, 9 weeks. So
9 weeks, yeah.
We'll talk about. I'm going to talk about the Warriors, who finished 12th last year with a win-loss of 8-16.
Yeah, look, 8-16, finished 12th, fourth worst offense, fifth worst defense, right? So finished around about where their stats, reflected. So had a, of course they had a disrupted season, right? Because, COVID screwed everyone around, but certainly for them being based out of Australia for the year, which would have been difficult. In the end, RTS left to go home earlier, right, having signed to play Super Rugby or whatever that stupid game is called. But then after he left, they went on a bit of a run and looked like they might have had a chance to sneak into the top 8, but failed at the end. Right? So this year, going to be another tough year for them, right? They're playing out of Sunny Coast and Redcliffe stadiums. So not out of New Zealand, and that's going to be, you got to think that's difficult, especially people with families, kids in school, all that sort of stuff, right? So ins and outs, mate. Ins and outs for the Warriors.
Yeah, lots of outs. They've lost both their big wingers who have played for years and years, David Fusitu'a and Ken Mamalu. They were on the decline, but gee, they were big boys and they were always good at returning the ball. RTS retiring, massive. That's huge. But they did find a good young kid, Reece Walsh. Like you say, he needs to keep his nose clean, but look, he'll be a good player. They lost Chad Townsend, obviously, but he was only a lone player. And their flea that ended up making them play with 12 half the season was Kane Evans, who has just disappeared into the abyss. So what have they got?
Where he deserves to be. Yeah. What have they got to replace him? Sweet fuck all. Yeah. Right, really. I mean, they've signed Sean Johnson to come back. It's like Back to the Future, right? So they're hoping he's the Sean Johnson of 10 years ago, but sorry guys, if you haven't been watching how he's been going for the Sharks the last few years, right? So look, he's been okay for the Sharks, but he just, look, I mean, it's a bit like watching Benji play, you remember how good they were as opposed to where they are now.
Yeah.
But they're going to struggle, I think, right? He's Sean Johnson will be a good addition for them, but their halves they lack class, right? And through most of the lineup, other than their front rowers, who are both pretty good players, the rest is, a bit of toilers, right? So I think they're going to do it a bit tough, especially with Tohu Harris out for the first part of the year too. So I've got them 11th to 14th, but maybe a little too high.
Yeah, I'm right on with you there, and I think perhaps maybe even slip into 15th. Yeah, it just depends, but yeah, I feel for them. Like 3 years in a row where they're playing away from home, that's got to be hard. So, look, good luck to your Warriors, and maybe I'll slip down to my local venue, the Redcliffe Dolphins field, and catch a game when you're there.
Absolutely, we should support the Warriors.
That's it.
Go, boys.
All right, folks, now we're going to talk about the Dragons, who, near and dear to your heart, my friend. And look, they were well and truly in the 8, and then they just slipped away and finished with an 8-16 record. So, that was heartbreaking for you, I'm sure.
Heartbreaking. 11th best record of the competition, 11th best in attack, 11th best in defense. So truly 11th. But what a season. Looked okay early. Then the barbecues hit, right? And losing all of those players and losing Paul Vaughan for the rest of the season really hurt them. Lost his go forward, which they just couldn't replace, right? So I think it was a tough year for Griffin as a coach, first year, right? I think, for him to have to have endured that too when there's question marks around him is a bit disappointing for him. I think he's a decent coach, and I hope that he can get us to the promised land in the near future. So, ins and outs, many ins and outs. So more ins and outs than a honeymooner, right?
So many, yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I'll run through the departures, and look, Matt Duffy at fullback can score a try but can't save one. Adam Clune, he's a whatever, but just another half that's gone out of your team. To follow on from your best mate Corey Norman, who's also departed, cost you a couple of games. But the big one's Paul Vaughan. That one's going to hurt you, and I just can't see how you can replace that.
Yeah, well, they tried in quantity, not quality, right? So, he is a big out. Dufty leaving, we've got the kids coming through, and Sloan has had a great start to his career, but it's only 5 or 6 games in, right? So, I mean, so hopefully, with another season under his belt, he continues to improve, right? But in terms of the ins, Moses Sully in the centres, couldn't make it for Manly into their team, got caught out defensively, a bit slow, a bit out of position, but can attack. So hopefully he's still young, so hopefully he can make a contribution. Jaden Sewer, I think, is a good in the back row. Yeah, he's a good player. Francis Molo played State of Origin for Queensland. Admittedly, it was for Queensland. So hopefully he can go on, because from what all reports, he's been paid a shit ton of money. Moses Mbaya would be a good number 14. Moses Mbaya would be a good 14, and that replacement hooker if something happens to McCulloch, because seriously, our number 9 stocks are very, very weak. And then, of course, up front, signed the big mongrels, Aaron Woods and George Burgess. Aaron Woods, just not very good anymore. And George Burgess, coming off having his hip resurfaced to allow him to functionally run again, you've got to say has some big question marks around it, right? So, lots more depth in the squad, but still missing some class, which I think they'll hope will come through from the kids that they've got developing.
Yeah, and look, you've got some great kids coming through in the backs. I think you'll be
the best,
pretty fine there. I really do like how do you even pronounce their last name? Luffy. Figai, not even close. I like those guys. I think they're going to be really good in your back line, but yeah, your forwards is where you're going to struggle, and that's going to hurt. So look, I've got the Dragons potentially making 8 to 11, but I've got them more close to 9 to 12.
Yeah, I've got them 7 to 10 if they don't crack the top 4. And I think their forwards are better than what you give them credit for. The big question becomes, can they get someone to take that first 20-minute stint that Paul Vaughan was doing, right? So I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but if they play Jack Bird at lock and DeBellin in the front row, then I don't see it working. So as good at players as they are individually, I just think you'll get beaten by some of the bigger teams, I think, right? So anyway, hey, you know what? We all start the year 0-0, right? So we all start with hope. So
that's right.
Looking forward to it.
And look, to be fair, you played with the prison timer DeBellin with very few games, so I think he'll be better for next year. Because
knowing he's going to play the year, well, assuming he kept himself clean over Christmas.
Yeah. Well, there's a few beds to hide under over that period of time, so we'll see what he does. But look, good luck to your Dragons, but I think it might be another tough year and another year without finals. All right, so here we are talking about the Raiders. Now, what an enigma this team is. They used to be just certainties for the top 8. And in the last 18 months, they've really just fallen from grace. And I don't know, they're going to struggle. I've got them. They had win-loss of 10 and 14 last year.
Yep, 10 and 14, 10th in attack, 10th in defence. Missed out on the top 8 based on for and against. But honestly, just were never a consistent team last year, right? They were always like an underperforming group, so and you're right, over the last 3 years, they've gone from being a feared team, to now with most of those same players just not really having any of that mongrel and that fear factor, right? That you would normally associate with them, right? So big question is, can they get that back, right? So of which time will tell.
Yeah.
So ins and outs for 2022.
Yeah, so look, a couple of losses, nothing that's going to necessarily hurt them, I don't think. Curtis Scott, loose cannon, lots of potential and could have been something, but yeah, not really. Ryan James, just getting on, long in the tooth. Great player in his day, but yeah, sadly they're behind him. But I think the one they will miss is Bailey Simonson. He looks like he's going to be a very, very good outside back. So they're the ones that they're losing most, but who have they got to replace him?
Well, Simonson leaves and they pick up Kotrick, which is, like for like, Kotrick, the question is, can he rediscover himself? Went to the Dogs, realized being a good player on a good team versus still being a good player on a shit team is much more difficult. So we'll see what happens with him. Adam Elliott, fresh out of having sex in the toilet, will be joining the Raiders scrum. And then the halfback from the Gold Coast Titans, Jamal Fogarty. So we'll be heading down to Canberra. Good organising half, good kicking game, bit slow, but I think if he can get people in the right spots and they can, they need to get the fire back into Jack Whiten, so he just hasn't been this, he was really average last year, right? So and if he can get back to being the Dally M player of the year up that top level, then, the Raiders will get a lot of confidence and then they're a chance at surprising, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I think Fogarty was smart going to the Raiders, going to the team where the front row ran him down. I think just means that he can not get exposed with that in another team. But he's a great compliment for Jack Whiten. He can be the organiser and just let him be the free running and the destructive runner he can be, because I love Jack Whiten. I think he's an awesome player. So look, I hope it's a good pairing, and I just hope it's something that works for the Raiders, because yeah, they deserve a bit better, I think. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they end up this year. But where they need improving or to make the 8, I don't know. I just think it might be a bit of depth. I think if they get any injuries at all, that it might really, really hurt them. But mostly it's going to be in the forwards, in my opinion. They've got players that, like you said, used to be very intimidating and you used to worry about them, and now not so much. So
yeah, that's right. And the hooker Hodgson, just isn't the same player that he was, right? Which happens, right? As you get older, but he's got to find a way to be creative, like he was when they were in their good times, right? So if he can't get there, then they're going to miss the 8. So I've got them coming somewhere between 10th and 14th.
Wow. Okay, now I've still got them somewhere between 7th and 10th. I still think they're a good team that could make the 8, and realistically, I think they should make the 8, but maybe that's just on past performance. So maybe you're more accurate. So, all right, well, good luck to your Raiders. That's right.
Good luck. Good luck. Enjoy your bike and clap.
Alrighty. Moving on to the team that came 9th now last year, the Sharkies. Now, win-loss of 10 and 14 again, missed the 8 for plus-minus, and I've used this joke 100 times, but maybe ever since they've stopped taking peptides, they're just not the team they were.
Yeah, they're they're just average, and 8th in attack last year, 7th in defence, missed out on plus-minus, not by a lot, but at the end, it doesn't matter. Look, they're just, they're an average team, but, they've found a way to remain competitive in that mushy middle of the competition, but never look serious to compete for the title, right? So, it was always just about could they make the 8. Ins and outs next year are pretty interesting for them, right? So, do you want to take us through them?
Yeah, massive. Look, their departures, probably decent ones, to be fair. Salary dumping for sure. I reckon these guys alone would be somewhere in the vicinity of about $2 million of salary cap. So they're dumping Sean Johnson, Josh Dugan, and Aaron Woods, which Aaron Woods has just going to go on for bigger and better things with the Dragons, I'm sure.
Yeah, look, Sean Johnson, good guy. But, the moment they signed Hines, there was no spot for him really. Dukes, there's been no spot for him for the last 2 years. The guy's a flogger. And Aaron Woods, he needs one of those old people walking things to get around, I think, So not much left in the old Woodsy's tank, right? Very good player with the Tigers. And then he left the Tigers and his whole career's kind of turned to shit. So feel a bit for Woodsy because he seems a nice guy. Big ins for the Sharkies, right? So Dale Finucane and Nicho Hynes come from the successful Storm system. Both very good players, both representative players, right? So very good ins. And then you've got Cam Mckenna, who comes across from the Dragons but was injured all last year. Not sure where McInnes fits in. Not sure how McInnes being there fits for Finucane, whether Finucane moves to the front row, moves away from lock. So there's still some question marks in the Sharks team around combinations. I think they're missing a half to complement Nicho Hynes, and outside backs, I think, look pretty average, right? So Jesse Ramian, but if the winger from the Roosters is the guy that they're talking about playing in the centres, what's his name? Ikuvalu, right? So Ikuvalu, I mean, geez, pretty average. So anyway, I mean, that said, are they better than last year? And you've got to look at them on paper and think they are, right? So I've got them in that 7th to 10th bracket. Again, hard to crack that top 6, but definitely good enough to make the top 8.
Yep, can't disagree with you there. I think their ins well and truly surpass their outs. I'm going to be really interested to watch Nicho Hynes this year. He's clearly a really good player, but has played in a very, very good team. And will he be as good in an average team? Because he's not going to have the support around him like he did. So that'll be interesting. But the big player to get back in for them is Cam Mckenna. So like you say, where's he going to play though? I think you're right. I think Finucane's probably going to fall into the front row, which is pretty sad. Yeah, it's pretty hard to see them not making the 8 realistically based on where they were last year and what they've improved on. So I've got them 7 to 10 this year. Yeah.
I think we'll be pretty much on the money there. So anyway, hopefully they end up 14th.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, not a big fan of the Sharkies, but anyway, good luck to them. And we'll catch up for the teams that finish in the top 8, mate, and we'll see where we think they're going to finish. So thanks for your time, mate. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care. See you guys.